Do you love yogurt, but you aren't sure what the best choice is for blood sugar? Then stay tuned, because today I am revealing the best no sugar added yogurt brands for people with diabetes. You don't want to miss this. Hey everyone, welcome to Healthy Mom, Happy Family. I'm registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator, Erin Palinski-Wade, and I am so happy to have you here joining me. Because if you have diabetes or you're working to lower blood sugar, you've probably wondered if you can eat yogurt and still keep your blood sugar levels in check. And if you love yogurt as much as I do, I want to tell you that I have really good news for you. Yogurt can absolutely be part of a blood sugar friendly meal plan. You don't have to give it up. But there's a big but here. I want you to remember that not all yogurt is created equal. There's actually hundreds of different brands of yogurt out there. I'm sure if you've been to the grocery store recently, you have been overwhelmed with all the different choices. And there are so many differences that you have to think about. Not every yogurt brand is going to be as beneficial to your health as others. Some offer healthy friendly bacteria that are great for blood sugar, and others can have as much added sugar as a bowl of ice cream. So that's why I wanted to jump on here and share with you guys today the top no added sugar yogurts on the market that not only taste great, but are also really great for blood sugar management. So that way you can eat what you love and still keep your blood sugar where it needs to be. So before we get started, I just want to remind you that if you're looking for tips and tricks and even simple recipes on managing life with type 2 diabetes and keeping your blood sugar in check, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss new videos. Now in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to choose a yogurt that's actually good for blood sugar. I'm also going to go over with you how to understand the various types of yogurts and the impact they can have on diabetes management. And finally, you want to stick around for the end because I'm going to be sharing with you my top picks for the best yogurt brands for blood sugar management. And these are ones that you can find in most grocery stores right by you. So you're going to know not just what to look for, but exactly what brands to choose to keep your blood sugar where it needs to be. So you ready? Let's get started. All right, so let's talk about how to choose a yogurt that's actually good for blood sugar. So the first thing I want you to know is that when you're choosing a yogurt, the nutrition label is pretty much your best friend, right? Because not all yogurts are created equal. So you want to look at the protein, you want to look at the fat content, but you also really want to look at total carbohydrate. And where I especially want you to focus is under total carbohydrate, I want you to look at added sugar. Because all yogurt's going to contain some form of carbohydrate, especially if it comes from milk, because milk naturally contains the sugar lactose. So you're always going to see some sugar, but it's the added sugar that's used to enhance flavor that we really want to watch out for. Because some yogurts, just in one serving, can have as much as 20 grams or more of added sugar. So that's like 3 to 4 teaspoons of added sugar poured into the yogurt. And I don't care how many probiotics are in that yogurt, it's going to be canceled out, the health benefits, by all that added sugar. So you really want to be looking at the ingredient list, look out for the added sugar so that we can make sure we're choosing the yogurt that not only tastes great, but also is best for blood sugar. So when you're looking at the food label and you're looking at the carbohydrates, the place I want you to start is look at the serving size. This is really important because not every serving container of yogurt is just one serving. So if it's a large container and there's 4 or 5 servings in the container, you have to realize that that total carbohydrate is per serving. And if you're eating multiple servings, you have to take that into consideration, how many actual carbs and added sugar you're truly taking in. Now I mentioned, don't be surprised, especially if you're looking at dairy yogurts, that there is going to be a source of carbohydrate and sugar in the yogurt, especially because dairy milk contains that natural sugar lactose. But outside of that, you really don't want to see additional sugars in the yogurt. So you really want to look under that total carbohydrate, look where it says added sugar, that section of the food label, and that number should be as low as possible. Now keep in mind, if you find yogurt that is sweetened with sugar alcohols, like erythritol, you're going to find that that doesn't actually impact your carbohydrates. So that will be listed on the food label, you will see sugar alcohols, but you can actually subtract those out of the total carbohydrate because they're not going to impact your blood sugar. Now, if you're wondering how that works and how to figure out exactly how many carbohydrates you can digest or the net carbs in your yogurt, I do have a whole video on helping you to understand how to determine net carbs on any type of food label. So I will link to that below so you can check that out too. Now, another thing you want to think about when you're choosing yogurt is fats, because yogurt does contain fat and there are some fat-free yogurts as well. So we have to think about where that fat's coming from and how it's going to impact us. When we're choosing dairy yogurts, the fat is going to be similar to milk. You can get whole yogurt, you can get 2%, you can get 1%, you can get fat-free. So you'll see whole, low-fat, non-fat on the yogurt, and you're going to know more or less how much fat the yogurt is going to contain based on that. Remember, the fat that comes from milk does contain some saturated fat, so we don't want to consume a large amount of saturated fat in the diet, or that can start to have a negative impact on heart health. So generally, if you're having a large amount of saturated fat from other foods, I would recommend a low-fat dairy yogurt versus a whole fat. However, if you're not getting a whole lot of saturated fat the rest of your diet, the whole milk yogurt is fine, because we just want to keep total saturated fat for the day to less than 10% of our total calories. Right? So a little bit is fine. You don't have to go fat-free. You don't have to avoid fat in dairy yogurt, but we just want to make sure that it's, as part of the day, we're not exceeding that overall 10% of our calories or more coming from saturated fat. The other thing to think about with fat is it actually does keep us full. So when you look at yogurt that does contain fat, whether it's plant-based or animal-based, it does contain a higher amount of fat. It will actually be more filling than a non-fat yogurt would be. So keep that in mind as well. All right, so let's talk about protein in yogurt, because yogurt does contain protein, but just like the fat, it can vary, right? So you might find that one particular yogurt has as much as 20 grams of protein per serving, another might only have 1. So we really want to look at this because we know that protein helps us to stay more satisfied. Plus, when you're eating food that contains protein along with carbohydrate, it helps to slow down how quickly those carbohydrates are converted into sugar in the bloodstream. So you'll see a lot of traditional yogurts and even some of the plant-based yogurts out there, they tend to be a little bit lower in protein, whereas when you look at Greek yogurt or Sky yogurt, they typically have a higher level of protein. I personally like to recommend more of the higher levels of protein in yogurt when you're choosing this for diabetes management, because it does tend to have less of an impact on blood sugar, helps you feel full longer. There's nothing wrong with the other yogurts, but you might want to eat a source of protein when you're enjoying them so that you feel more satisfied. So now let's talk about types of yogurt, because there are a whole lot of types of yogurt out there. And when you walk down the aisle in the grocery store, it's really easy to get overwhelmed or confused. You'll see traditional yogurt, you'll see Greek yogurt, Sky yogurt, plant-based yogurts. So it's important to know what the difference is, but also to know what might be the best when you're thinking about blood sugar management. All right, so traditional yogurts are kind of the most common yogurt. These are the yogurts that are made from dairy milk. And I mentioned before, they can come in whole milk, you can see 2% or even skim milk. Now, when we think about the texture of traditional yogurt, it's a little bit more on the runnier side, and that's because these yogurts contain both whey as well as the lactose in the yogurt. Now, when you find traditional yogurt, it can be unsweetened. You can find it sweetened. Some have fruit added to them, some mix candy in. I mean, there's so many different options. But what you want to think about is an unstrained yogurt, which means naturally it's going to contain a little bit more carbohydrate and natural sugar than yogurts that have been strained, like Greek yogurts and Sky. So the carbohydrates are already a little bit higher, and that's why choosing unsweetened and then adding your own flavoring would be best with those types of yogurts. Now, when we look at Greek yogurt is a lot thicker. So if you haven't tried it before, it's definitely a thicker taste than traditional yogurt. A lot of people like that, but it's something to keep in mind if you don't like the texture of that. The reason it's thicker and it's also richer in protein is because it's been strained. And so when they strain the Greek yogurt, they're doing that to remove the liquid whey as well as the lactose. So this also does remove some of the carbohydrate and it keeps the protein intact. That's why you'll find Greek yogurt a lot of times has more protein and slightly lower carbohydrates than traditional yogurt, which may make it a better choice when you're thinking about blood sugar management. Now, Sky yogurt is similar to Greek yogurt, but it actually originates in Iceland, and it's strained as well. But the big difference between Sky and Greek, if you ever have purchased both, you'll notice they're both very thick. It's really the fat content. So Sky is actually made with skim milk. So with Greek yogurt, you can see non-fat, you can see low-fat, you can see whole milk. Sky yogurt is always going to be fat-free. But because it has been strained, you will see that it has more protein, less carbohydrates, but it's also going to have no fat. Now, when we think about the plant-based yogurts out there, there's a lot because there's a variety of ways you can get dairy-free yogurt. So you're going to see yogurts that are made from almonds, cashews, oats, soy, even coconut. And what's nice with the plant-based yogurts is they all have slightly different tastes. There's all different ways you can use them, and they really are great for people who have an allergy to dairy or can't tolerate it. But you want to think about too, there's going to be a difference in the carbohydrate, the protein content, even the fat content. Something like coconut or cashew, you're going to see more fat, plant-based fat, than even in traditional yogurt, or sometimes even in Greek yogurt that's made with lower fat milk. But typically, you don't have to worry about this, right? Because fat, we know, is filling, but when it's coming from a plant, it's unsaturated fat, and it's not going to have a negative impact on heart health. But you will find that with some of these plant-based yogurts, the protein is lower, so they might not be quite as satisfying, especially if they're low in fat and protein. So keep that in mind, especially if you're trying to use yogurt as a satisfying meal or a snack that needs to keep you satisfied for a few hours, as opposed to eating it alongside an additional source of protein or fat. Okay, so now that you know what to look for when you're shopping for yogurt, let's talk about what are those best brands of yogurt for blood sugar. So one of the ones I love is called Chobani Complete. Now this is a Greek style yogurt, and so it's really creamy, it's pretty thick, it's also lactose free, and it only has 12 grams of net carb along with 15 grams of protein. So it's got that good balance when it comes to blood sugar. But another thing I really like about this yogurt is it's actually a good source of fiber. It contains 3 grams of soluble fiber, and so that's going to help it, again, to be more satisfying, as well as slow down how quickly those carbohydrates are converted into sugar in the bloodstream. It does have a sweet taste, but you'll find that this is actually flavored with fruit puree, monk fruit extract, and stevia. So you're going to find that it's sweetened, and it tastes sweet, but you're not getting the added sugar. And there's no additional specific probiotics added to this yogurt, but it is a cultured milk product, so it does have probiotics, which can offer those gut health benefits. Okay, so next on the list is a plant-based yogurt. This is Forager's unsweetened vanilla bean cashew milk yogurt. So if you need to avoid dairy, or you're trying to avoid dairy, this is a great alternative. It's made from cashew milk, so it does have natural sweetness, and then it also has some coconut cream blended in along with vanilla bean. So the coconut cream really gives it a little bit more body, makes it a little bit thicker, so it has more of that mouthfeel that you'd expect from yogurt. And you are getting 7 grams of fat, and again, it's plant-based fat, so it's going to be more satisfying, but it is a little bit lower in regards to the protein content. Now this yogurt only has 8 grams of net carbohydrates, so it's not going to have a big impact on blood sugar, but it only does have 3 grams of protein per serving. So you are getting more fat, not getting a lot of carbohydrate, but it might not be quite as filling with a lack of protein. So just think about, maybe you want to throw some cashews or almonds on top to bump up the protein and make it a little more satisfying. Okay, so now let's look at Wallaby no added sugar Greek yogurt. So this is a Greek yogurt. It contains about 9 grams of net carbs. There are 11 grams of protein in this yogurt, as well as 5 grams of fat. Now, I think you probably noticed by the name Wallaby, it's actually an Australian-inspired Greek yogurt, which is pretty fun to think about that it's coming from Australia. So that's what I said with the yogurt. I mean, there's just so many brands and varieties out there coming from all across the globe. With this yogurt, though, it's really nice. It comes in 3 flavors, so you can get the traditional vanilla, but there's also peach and strawberry. And even though it's sweetened and it has these flavors, there's no added sugar in the yogurt. Okay, so it's only made with whole milk. And you're getting about 5 grams of fat per serving. So again, there's a little saturated fat because it is coming from dairy, but that can fit within your meal plan if you're not consuming a large amount of saturated fat from other sources. Now, instead of using sugar alcohols as a sweetener, what they actually do is just use the natural fruit to sweeten it. So it's a great way to keep the ingredients that are pretty much wholesome, natural. It's just the milk and it's just the fruit to sweeten it. And they do add a little bit of probiotic strains in there, so it's got the natural cultures, it has the added probiotics to help with gut health. So now let's look at Boyko's 000 yogurt. I know this one's been out for a while, and you can find it in pretty much most grocery stores. It has no added sugar, it has no fat, so it's 0 fat, it has no sugars, and it doesn't have any artificial sweeteners either. It is a Greek yogurt, so a lot of my clients love this one because it is thick and it's creamy. It has 15 grams of protein per serving, so it has a good amount of protein to really keep you satisfied. And it's sweetened with a combination of stevia along with some natural vegetable juices, which give it really nice color too, but you're not getting any added sugars from it, right? So it doesn't have any fat. It only has 7 grams of net carb. What I would say with this one is the protein should be pretty satisfying on its own, but again, you can always amp it up a bit more. So if you want to throw some nuts or seeds or even have some frozen berries on, you can kind of melt in. That's a great way to bulk it up if you want it to be even more satisfying. All right, now if you are looking for a yogurt with the least amount of net carbs, my recommendation is to check out the Chobani Zero Sugar Yogurt. This Greek yogurt is actually sweetened now with allulose, and if you're not sure what allulose is, it's a natural low-calorie sweetener. I made a video about it, I'll link below so you can check out and get more information about it, along with some stevia and monk fruit extract. So all of these are considered all natural sweeteners. They're safe for people who have diabetes, but if you want more information on any of those sweeteners, I'll link to my videos below that I've done with those particular sweeteners. With this yogurt, there's actually 6 different strains of probiotic added to it. So it's a really great option when you're thinking about gut health and gut diversity of the bacteria in the gut. So it's definitely one that I would recommend for people looking to amplify gut health. But you're only getting 1 gram of net carb and you're getting 11 grams of protein. It is 0 fat too. So, think about that. It's pretty much a lower calorie yogurt as well, but more of a snack versus a meal by itself unless you want to add more to it. Okay, so next on the list, I love saying this one, it's cocoa yo. I think I'm saying that right, but it's fun to say. So this is a plant-based yogurt. It's got 7 grams of net carbs, 3 grams of protein, 6 grams of fat. So you can see kind of across the board, it's lower. It's a lower calorie yogurt too. So it's great as a snack. It's not going to be incredibly satisfying, but it's a good choice for a snack. It's plant-based, and the company claims that per serving, it actually contains 100 billion living probiotics, which is a pretty incredible amount. And it's dairy-free too, so if you're somebody who's trying to avoid dairy or you're vegan, vegetarian, this is a really great option. They use coconut, so it's really creamy for a yogurt, but it is vegan, and it's sweetened with fruit juices along with stevia. So it's only 90 calories per serving. Like I mentioned, the net carbs are really low, 7 grams. Great option for a snack and great for those who really want to eat a more plant-based diet. Now, if you're looking for like that really clean ingredient list, nothing added, Maple Hill organic cream on top yogurt plain is pretty much as simple as it gets because you're really just looking at the ingredients are whole milk and the live active cultures. So there's nothing else there. There's no sweeteners, there's no flavorings. So this, I love this, is a traditional yogurt, so it's not a Greek yogurt, it's not quite as thick, but it's still pretty creamy and tangy on its own. These are the types of yogurts I love, especially if I'm going to use yogurt in a recipe because it is kind of in its natural state, so it's great as a base. And then you can use it in smoothies, you can put your own fruit in it to flavor it, so there's a lot you can do since it is in its natural unflavored form. And per serving, you're only getting 8 grams of net carb, 5 grams of protein, 7 grams of fat. So really great one if you want to enjoy it alone or flavor it or if you want to cook with it too. Now there's also Siggy's non-fat Icelandic Sky plain yogurt. And I mentioned before with Sky yogurt, it has that thickness of Greek yogurt and a higher protein content, but because it's made with skim milk, it's always fat-free. So that's what you're getting in this yogurt. It's thick, it's creamy, it's rich in protein, it has those live active cultures, so it has the probiotics for gut health, and you're only getting 6 grams of net carb per serving, along with 16 grams of protein. So really great choice if you want to be more satisfied and not see a big impact on blood sugar, and if you want that creaminess and thickness of Greek yogurt, but you don't want to have any of the saturated fat. So it's a really great choice there by itself, or of course you can use it in things like parfaits, smoothies, or add your own toppings to it too. All right, so let's talk about what the bottom line is when it comes to yogurt and diabetes. So the thing is, eating yogurt with diabetes is actually a great choice. It makes a great snack or a meal, it's gut health friendly, and it's usually pretty balanced between protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So a really great option when we're thinking about balancing blood sugar. Plus, a lot of people like it, and now, even if you're avoiding dairy or you can't tolerate dairy, there's so many options beyond just dairy when it comes to yogurt with all these plant-based options in the mix too. But when it comes to yogurt, as I mentioned, and I know you know this, is that they are not created equal, right? Every yogurt brand out there is different, and you really have to look at your goals for choosing it, but especially zero in on the added sugar. Because some yogurts, I will tell you, you look at them, I mean, it's amazing how much added sugar they have, and it can be more than something like a bowl of ice cream. And between you and me, I'd rather go have a bowl of ice cream if I really love ice cream versus to get all that hidden added sugar in my yogurt, right? So read those labels, look at the nutrition content, really zero in on where the carbohydrates are, look at the added sugars, and try to keep that as low as possible. And if you are looking for more blood sugar friendly yogurt options, I hope you find some of these brands helpful. I know I really enjoy all of them, plant-based, dairy-based, depends what you're in the mood for, whether you want thick and creamy or thinner, but really there's an option for everyone out there. You don't need to avoid yogurt. It actually can be really beneficial when it comes to diabetes management. So go out there, have it, but look for those no sugar added brands. And let me know, if you eat yogurt right now, what are the brands that you really love? Are there certain brands of yogurt that you find don't really impact blood sugar as much? And you really enjoy the flavor of. I would love to know if there's more I should add to the list. So comment below and let me know. And if you like today's video, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss new tips, tricks, and recipes. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.